Founded by the Romans, ruled by Vikings, and packed with over 2,000 years of history, York is a place I've been eager to visit for years.
The old one, with an old wall.
Recently, while riding the train through northern England, I finally found the time to stop for a quick visit.
So yeah, really the whole old part of the city is surrounded by this wall. But what's within those walls? Well, I've got just under 3 hours to find out, so let's get going.
You can get up on the wall just over this way.
No dogs allowed on the walls. So what I know about the city walls. They were built around the 13th, finished in the 14th century, and these walls are the longest city wall anywhere in England. But here's just a small part of the walls. As I go over this way, I'll get into the main part of the old city and then beyond to see much more wall. And you can see just a few minutes leaving from the train station, you get to the river. And yeah, the wall is over there, but the wall is also over there. There's some traffic here too, so I think walking is probably the fastest way, but the river is looking very beautiful here in springtime. You can see those are all of the cherry blossom and other petals lying there in it. And I guess you can take a boat tour as well. This is the river O-U-S-E. I guess that's pronounced, well, I don't know how that's pronounced. Could be Ouse, Owls. If I were German, I would say Ouse. And this tower on the other side of the river is the Lindell or Lindahl Tower. Again, native English speaker here, British English pronunciation, UK English to be fair. I'm not that great at guessing how it's said. Anyway, they've got a nice map here, and you can see, yes, this is the longest city wall anywhere in England. It goes all the way around the old part of York.
So, my plan for today, to walk around the wall of course, and make a few important stops along the way.
Coming over here, I almost feel like I'm visiting a city in Japan or something. All of the sakuras or cherry blossom trees are really in full bloom here right now. It's so beautiful. And going further, it looks like we'll come up to the cathedral in just a minute. By the way, these red boxes are not always just used for phones. This one's got a defibrillator in it. And now I'm over here a bit into the old city. You can see the walls now 1 block behind me and up close to this cathedral. Now only having a bit over 2 hours here right now, and that's before the exact departure time of my train, so probably less than 2 hours before I actually need to head back to the station. This cathedral is just very beautiful.
The York Minster is one of the largest Gothic cathedrals anywhere and the largest in Northern Europe. It took nearly 300 years to build and rests upon the site of an ancient Roman fortress.
But I won't have time to actually go in. But we do have time for a quick photo. Cheers. So instead, a walk through Dean's Park, which is just behind this really massive cathedral. Now that you come into the park over here, it's really possible to see just how big this Gothic cathedral is. And Dean's Park here is also filled with flowering trees and various flowers being grown below the trees. But for being mid-spring here, it's still pretty nippy. It's cold and it's pretty windy. And the church bells have just rung for 1:30 p.m. Really just another reminder about my limited amount of time that I have here in York. And if I'm being really honest, I usually try to avoid doing shorter stops in cities with trains, planes, or whatever like this because, you know, they're rushed. You just don't get that much time to actually get to know the place. Of course, if all you've got is 3 hours, and yeah, today all I've got is 3 hours, then it's still worth going out and seeing something like this. I mean, honestly, if all I'd done here is checked out the cherry blossoms, I'd be pretty okay with it. And you can see over this way, the cathedral's just right there. The wall's still just about a block off. And if anybody happens to know what a cowslip is, please do let us know in the comments. So continuing my walk back away from the cathedral, and hopefully getting back on the wall, I guess. Along the way, a figure of St. Peter carved around 1400. It was in that building until 2013. And it does seem kind of in between all of the bigger spaces here in New York. You have very nice, smaller alleyway type streets like this one. Lots of bricks. And you know, when you're traveling, sometimes you end up in a place and you start thinking about, oh, I could live here. And I can't imagine that wouldn't happen to anyone in New York looking at houses like this. So beautiful. And I can see this one's actually called the Dutch house. When you look up, it does look kind of Dutch. Back to the wall. The wall's pretty high here. Back up again. Well, there's this thing here that looks pretty cool. And you could just stay at the DoubleTree over there. York's pretty expensive to stay in though. That's part of the reason why I've only got 3 hours here. another story for another day. But the history of this place, as we've gone over, these are medieval walls. The Romans were also here and left their mark. And yeah, more than anything, it does look quite English with all these brick buildings everywhere.
The Vikings even invaded here in the 9th century, called it Jorvik, and designated it the capital of Northumbria. There's lots of historical information all along the walls, by the way.
So I can definitely see why people would want to visit York. It's very beautiful with these walls. And it's kind of a mix of modern stuff. It's very modern as well. But they've got all the old stuff here too. And historically, York was home to one of the largest Jewish communities in all of England. Also, to do the circular path that I'm doing here means walking along the river. This little stretch here does not have any wall to walk on, but it's still quite beautiful. It becomes a little bit like of an industrial feel when you get outside of the city. You can see that smokestack for, I guess, for a factory or something. But I don't know, stuff like this bridge, it's still a nice place to walk. The Monk Bridge. I mean, essentially to me at least, that's the old town right there, right? Right over here. It looks kind of like the US suburbs, but a little bit smaller, like a strip mall. You can go to Greg's there. You know Greg's? It's even got its corner shopping cart selection over there. And here's the, well, it says it's the Red Tower right here. It's a little church. It's really pretty, these bricks, by the way. This was built in 1490. That is so old. But these maps are very useful to have at the entrances / exits of the wall here. And with exactly 1 hour left here in York, I've got two priorities I could say. I don't know if they're both going to be possible, but one is a must on the map each time. I've noticed that on the other side of town, well, from where I was, where I'm going right now, there is a castle. Second thing that I would really love is something to eat. So let's keep up on our windy and becoming slightly rainy walk.
And there are quite a few of these gates here along the wall. Just the gates alone are definitely a sight to see, but each one has its history, and this is the Fishergate Bar, or was where the Fishergate Bar was. And there's actually multiple of these gates that used to, or still even, have bars or various types of eating establishments on top of them. For me though, this one is especially interesting because it says between 1598 and 1633 the bar was also used to incarcerate, well, it gives the word lunatic, so yeah, I don't know what that means exactly, but it was also kind of a jail for some people. Well, I can't say for certain what they meant by the word lunatic. It does make me kind of think of the Harry Potter character Luna Lovegood, if I'm not mistaken, that's her name. But anyway, I've got one more little section of the wall here before I reach the castle, and hopefully, somehow miraculously, at the castle there will be, I don't know, a giant plate of, well, I hope it's not Yorkshire pudding. I don't really like that much.
And here it looks kind of nice outside of the wall. Nice in that little shopping mall or strip mall area. But then over here, I can see there is really, for real, a castle here. And it seemed like the parts of the wall closer to the train station that are probably more touristed had guardrails. But here you can see there are none, and it's actually pretty far down there. Probably the camera doesn't do it that much justice. You wouldn't want to fall.
And you can see here, this is officially called the Leaning Castle of York. Nah, not really. The truth is that there used to be a full-size castle over here, but much of it was dismantled hundreds of years ago, and now there's just some parts of it remaining. The Castle Museum, and this is called Clifford's Tower. They've got an Ali G's here in his house, and here the building that nobody actually wants to go in, but it's really beautiful in this city, the court. One thing I always notice when I come over here to the UK is that you've got these small streets with bus stops on them, and often those double-decker buses, of course, that are very popular over here. But as a result, you always have these kind of long lines on the streets. But by now, my time in York was almost up, so instead of sitting down in a nice restaurant that I didn't have time for, I enjoyed a few more blocks of the Old Town. Oh my god, what a beautiful city York is. If there's any lesson that I've learned today, it's that I've got to come back here and spend more than 2.5 hours. But here I am, heading back over the bridge where I started my little journey exploring this town today. And in just a moment, I'll be back at the train station. But of course, I haven't forgotten that my stomach is rumbling. At the train station though, according to Google Maps at least, there's what looks like a very nice and fast Lebanese eatery. So I'm thinking some hummus, or possibly some shawarma, or possibly some hummus with some shawarma is in order. Believe it or not, at one time this was the biggest train station in the world. Today it's definitely still got something going for it though, because you can eat tasty Lebanese food right next to the train tracks. But that wraps up my quick visit to York, so if you want to see what I ate at the Lebanese restaurant, or anything from my train journey from Manchester all the way up to Redcar, watch this video next. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next video.